So a real world example of this is I was working with somebody and he bought a brand new car. With that car came Sirius XM radio for a free year trial.
Yep.
Year one went by. He had no idea for the next 2 years he paid $27 a month for it. And it was because it just, was a dollar amount that was small enough that was recurring on his card every month that he didn't really pay attention to.
Yep.
When he did this exercise, not only did he discover that, he wasn't even using SiriusXM anymore. So he had been paying for it, not using it. He was able to cancel it, right, which felt good.
Yep.
But he also discovered some fraud on his account. He realized that over
Oh,
the course of the last couple of months, there was between $200 to $300 that were purchases that were not even his own. So luckily he was able to get that cleared up and taken care of. But when we're out of touch with where our money is going, things like that are very easy to spend money on or being taken advantage of in the case of the fraud. And if we're not paying attention to it, we can't correct it. And if we
that's
can't
right.
correct it, we can't use that money for something else.
So if you're paying your bills, great job, right? You're making all your payments, whatever that looks like for you. And a lot of people are kind of hung up on this idea of no credit and no debt, but we probably all have something that falls into the debt category that's attached to our daily lives, our spending habits, even if it's just the house. You probably have something attached to you that's in that category. So making those payments and paying them on time and not having to pay penalties, if you've got 10 years of good history, that's great. But are you looking at the spending reports? Are you looking at the transactions? And do you have some fraud out there that potentially is affecting your finances that you're not even aware of, even if it's just one instance? So I think that's a great example. SiriusXM comes with anybody that's bought a new car in the last 10 years is going to have a SiriusXM plan attached to that, which is going to come as a gift, right? It's going to start off and it's going to be quote unquote free. I'm sure it's baked into the price somewhere, but you get free access to that service, and then it just becomes recurring after that. And of course, that's not the only one, right? There's lots
Right.
of
That's why
examples.
subscription services are so profitable for companies today, and why so many of them are using them. And we're going to talk about subscription services a little bit later in our tips. But I think right now, when we're thinking about this idea of looking back where our money is going, it's also a great time for our third tip, which is taking an inventory of your debt. A lot of people may have a general idea of how much debt they have, but until they maybe run a credit report or go through debt by
Yes.
debt to see what they truly have, they may be pleasantly surprised. Okay, I'm not as in bad shape as I thought I was. Or that it may have been like that head in the sand type mentality of, this is really bad. Now that I'm looking at it, I feel really bad about myself, about my choices, about my actions. But that gives you the power to do something differently, to clear it up, to move forward, and to get this burden out of your life.
And like you said with fraud, if you pull that credit report, you may find something out there that's attached to you. And we all have had that experience or know somebody that's had that experience. And not all of them turn out badly. Not everybody loses their entire bank accounts or has to go through all this litigation to try to figure out what's going on with this fraud situation. But odds are, we're all susceptible to it. We all have a digital footprint out there, and so fraud is one of the fastest growing criminal activities that we have right now. And so you just want to be aware of that as well. And pulling that annual credit report, use the spring cleaning idea as a reminder to go ahead and do that. And speaking of reminders, something that we definitely want to encourage everybody to use is their calendar, your online calendar, your digital calendar. It may not be a tool that you're leveraging to its fullest potential right now. And something as simple as just putting a reminder on there, an annual reminder that pops up every year that says, on this day at this time for this 30 minutes, go in and pull your annual credit report and review it. And just if that's the only action you take, you'll have more information than you did 10 minutes prior to that action.
Yeah, I love that. That's a bonus tip, I'm going to call it, because it wasn't one of our 9 tips that we had laid out. But I think, you know, leveraging technology to help us is a great idea. And these annual reminders to help us stay on track is an awesome tip.
And I have to. I'll forget. If I don't have those reminders out there, if my
Oh,
phone's
all of us
not
will.
buzzing at
Yeah.
me, if I don't have somebody nagging me to get something done, I'll forget or I'll find something else to do, right? So having those
Right.
reminders
So
and
if,
having that block of time is a lifesaver for me, and I would imagine it would be for a lot of people.
Yeah, I mean, if you have it on your list every year, run your credit report or do any of these 9 tips that we're sharing with you today, okay, well, that's great. You have one step done, you put it on a list. But if you have that active reminder, like you're saying, it's disrupting your
That's it, a
moment when it's
disruptor.
coming
I
in.
like
That
that.
yes, yes. So it'll help you achieve your goals. That's what this all comes back to. It's living the life that you want to live so you can live out your dreams and your goals, and putting systems into place is how that happens. So I love the idea of the calendar.